Alex Boyé, singer, entertainer, YouTube sensation, and Troy Williams, Executive Director of Equality Utah. Thank you both for being part of 3 Questions.
Thanks for the invite.
Yeah.
Last, 2 weeks ago, we had Dan Reynolds here who talked about the Love Loud Festival and how it was going to be held to support and provide love and understanding, especially for LGBTQ youth.
Yeah.
The Love Loud Festival took place. It's gone and in the past now. How will we know if the mission of that festival was indeed successful?
The hashtag spread around all across the world, which it actually did. Just the Love Loud Fest, it was incredible. It's like when I got home, remember I woke up the next day and it just lit up of just people who were talking about experiences over and over. Can I actually share one? Is that all right? I asked her for permission, and so this was a post.
And let me just say here that Alex, you were the MC of the event.
I was the MC of the event, and for me, it was last minute. I was invited to do it, and I said yes, and I was very glad. I'm so excited that I got to be a part of it. But it says, this girl says, as soon as I walked in, and she's a gay, she's lesbian, and she said, as soon as I walked into the venue, I immediately felt a rush of calmness and a sense of love and acceptance. And she said that she hadn't felt that for years in Utah. Then she said, everyone was so kind and so welcoming, and the energy was indescribable. It was truly incredible. I've never in my life felt more valid and supported by a group of more than 20,000 people than last night. Religion, sexuality, race, and age was put on the back burner. It was a night of acceptance. And here's the thing, there's 20,000 people. Most of them were Mormon. Yeah. And that was the powerful. What she said there, that she's never felt, and that was an incredible example to me, and I was in tears because I just thought this was what it was all about.
Yeah. Well, you ask, when will we know? I mean, this isn't going to change overnight. Suicide rates for young people in the state of Utah have nearly tripled over the past few years. So this is a huge problem. And we know that LGBTQ youth are 4 times more likely than their straight counterparts to attempt or to experience suicide ideation. And they're 8 times more likely to attempt suicide if they come from unaccepting homes. So we've got a lot of work to do to create an environment and a culture that is loving, that is inclusive, that binds them to us so that they know and that they can see a positive future for them. And what happened on Saturday at Love Loud was unbelievable, and it's really going to push us forward to that moment.
Troy, you had a speaking assignment there at the festival.
That's right.
For those who did not get to see it and won't know where to find it online, tell us a little bit about what you said. What did you say to the crowd?
So I grew up as a Mormon kid, all right? And when I was a young child and a young teenager, the greatest fear that I had was that I might be gay, because I knew, or I feared, that if I was gay, that I would be exiled and kicked out from my parents, my family, and the faith community that I loved so much. And that fear, that sense of isolation, that sense of despair is really what drives suicide ideation. So if the teenage me that was so angst-ridden and was so scared could have flashed forwarded and saw the adult me standing in front of 18,000 Mormons who had come to a concert to love and celebrate LGBTQ youth, I would have felt hope. I would have known that there was a tribe waiting for me in 2017.
And we're not talking just like Mormons who are on the fence or whatever. We're talking like, your home teachers and your bishops and your stake presidents and, the ward mission leader, stuff like that. Yeah. We're not talking about, we're just talking about just the population of Utah, not like this kind of certain group of type of people who are just like, and that was what was awesome. When I'm like, oh, hey, how you doing here? Brother so-so, how you doing? Sister so, oh, good to see you here. And then they were like, isn't it great to be here? And then, and it was a beautiful thing. And, what was the craziest thing about it is that myself and Troy, we haven't seen, how long has it been? We haven't
20 years.
So, right. Yeah. He's trying to date himself. But Troy and I served in the same mission, England Bristol mission.
At the same time?
At the same time. Yep. We were in the same district together at one point, and we had the same companion.
No kidding.
Yeah. And so
at different times.
At different times, yeah. And so, you know, here we were standing. If someone would have told me, you know what I mean, that this was going to be, you know what I mean, what would happen, I wouldn't have believed them. But here's the thing, but the fact that it did happen in the way that, because I wished that you could hear more about what Troy has gone through.
Yeah.
You know, man, look, there's a smile on his face, right? But we have no idea what he had to go through emotionally. Yeah. To be where he is right now. And so for me to be standing there, him to be standing there, addressing the audience and them knowing who he is, not having to hide anything, and to just be himself, that was powerful.
Let me ask you this, because I had planned on asking this anyway.
Right.
The both of you served in the same mission at the same time, had the same companion, but since then, your paths have diverged.
Right. A little bit.
Just a tad, right? Yeah.
Explain to me what happened. Tell me how that happened.
Wow. Well, you know, there hasn't been a place for LGBTQ individuals in the Mormon Church who come out and actually embrace their identity as gay. In the Mormon Church, it's okay to be gay as long as you don't do gay, right? Right. So, you know, there's been this divide, this disconnect between our communities, even though there are so many gay and transgender Mormons, you know, who grow up in Mormon families. And so for so long we've been at this political battle over marriage equality and over all these other issues about sex and the rearing of children. And you know, what we've tried to do at Equality Utah is say, okay, there are things that we do not agree on and things that we maybe will never agree on, but let's focus in on the things that we have in common. And I believe that the things that connect us and bind us together are stronger than the things that divide us. So what's been so interesting for me in my own personal journey is to leave the church, but then to come into Equality Utah and actively engage with leaders of the church. 2 years ago, historically, we passed the first non-discrimination law to protect LGBTQ Utahns and people of faith from discrimination. And that happened because Equality Utah worked side by side with the LDS Church. And we made that happen by focusing on what we share in common, not on what divides us.
Yeah. About a week and a half before Love Loud happened, the LDS Church came out and said, we endorse, well, we applaud is what the term that they used, but it was a de facto endorsement of this whole festival. How did that affect, number one, the turnout and the atmosphere that was there?
I think it was huge, and let me be honest, you know, with myself, is when I was asked to, invited to host this, to MC it, there was no church endorsement, at least it wasn't, you know, and so I'm not going to lie, I was worried. I was worried, but it was just for a minute, you know. I was worried because thinking, oh, you know, I'm going to get this mail. People are going to say, how could you be in that environment? How could you support this and this and that and that and this, you know? And even when I did announce it, you know, that I was doing it, that's what I got. I got so much hate, like mail and stuff like that, you know?
Turncoat.
And some of this is from our own people, you know? And not, but both, you know? And so it was really, it was a powerful thing. And then when the, you know, the endorsement sort of came, you felt a shift in the way that people viewed this event. But I'm so glad that that happened, because there were people there that possibly would not have come.
Would not have come.
You know, and so, but then this is what they said, and this is some of the things I said. And they were like, I feel bad. I had some guy said, I feel bad. He says, I wish I didn't have to wait for the endorsement to come before I decided that I want to be here and show some love and acceptance. And that was powerful. And I felt, in a way, this, I mean, you know, I made the decision to come before that, but I must admit, there was this like,
you breathe out now,
No, look, why did I have to feel that? You know what I mean? I should be there anyway, because my heart and something in me told me that I should be there. No matter what, you know? And so so that's why I'm just so grateful with the way that it turned out, and there's a lot of things that you cannot explain about how it was. I'm so glad I was there, because he could tell me, Troy could say, oh, you should have been there. You know what happened? This, and that, and I'm like, Troy, I have no idea what you're talking about. But I was there, and it was amazing. And what was powerful as well was that they had people speak. They had people from the the gay community and people from the Mormon community who were set up organizations specifically to help and lift those who have fallen and who are broken from the fact that they've came out to the LDS family. And, you know, just some of the things that happen. And it's not just like, oh, let's just grab you and come over with us. They were trying to find ways to still keep that family unit together with the differences that exist. Because I do believe that that can happen. I've never been through that situation, so you can't say, oh, well, what do you know? But all I know is that when I look at different situations, and you know, even me being black and Mormon, we'll just leave it at that. So there's many experiences that I had to go through, but you know what I mean? So maybe that was another reason why I wanted to be there, because I'd felt some hate and indifference and certain things just being who I am.
Yeah.
And so I have an idea of what that feels like, and so I was excited to be a part of it.
Troy, what did having the church's endorsement mean personally to you for this event?
Yeah, for me, it opened a door. To actually engage folks, to actually have conversations who wouldn't normally come to actually meet with us. Originally, Dan Reynolds had talked to me about doing a concert in Salt Lake City, and I'm like, no, we've got to go to Provo, we've got to go to Orem, we've got to go somewhere in Utah County. That's where the work really needs to be. Right now, I kind of consider myself kind of a queer missionary. So I take some of the skills that I learned in the England Bristol mission now, and I apply it as in the work at Quality Utah. Building relationships of trust. Yeah. And you know, let's be honest, there are people in our community that were really suspicious of the endorsement. What's the church trying to do? Is it a PR move? You know, will this actually follow with substantive policy changes? And you know, my kind of belief is, look, we've got to meet people where they are, and if someone takes a step toward me, I want to take a step toward them. Yeah. And that's what we need to do in this nation. We are so fractured right now in this country, us versus them all the time. But here's the deal, it's only us, it's only we, and we've got to connect. Those are the two most powerful words right now that our nation needs, us and we.
Alex, you emceed the event, and Troy, you spoke at LOVELOUD Festival. And there were a lot of other acts there. I mean, we could list all of them, but Imagine Dragons was perhaps the biggest. Neon Trees was there. What was the atmosphere like backstage?
It was actually, you know, because I've been in a lot of these type of events, and you know, big events with the bands and great, you know, all the sound systems and the great quality, and just the whole team of people that you have no idea about that makes the thing at the front work. But there was like no panic. Everyone was just real calm and just peaceful, and just people we were hugging a lot. Yeah. But we were looking at each other like, can you believe this is actually happening? That was the look that everyone was having with each other. And if you hadn't seen them for such a long time, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe that of all places we end up here, you know? Right. And one thing that I want to point out as well is that, you know, with the Mormon community, you know, me being Mormon, you know, one thing I noticed, and this is something that I wasn't aware of much, there were so many Mormons there who had been wanting to do this for years, 10, 15 years, whoever. They had wanted to be a part of something like this for years. They had wanted to show their support for years. They didn't know how to do it. They didn't, you know, because sometimes we look at certain things that happen on the news, and then we paint all the Mormons, and we do it with everything. We look at something on the news with the gays, and if it's something bad, we'll paint all the gays the same way, or a black man, or the police, right? We'll paint them all the same way.
Russians,
and one thing I noticed is with this event was that there was so much of the thing that the press is not going to talk about because it's not controversial. I've just so many Mormons that just like applauded this and wanted this to happen, begged for it to happen, prayed for it to happen. And this wasn't just the families of, you know, because, oh, now, you know, there's a member of my family that's gay now and I'm Mormon, so I have a better understanding. I'm talking about just people who've never even experienced that. Yeah. And that was what really warmed my heart, and that is what I hoped that could get out a lot more.
It's the culmination of this evolution that we've been observing. 2009, our communities were embattled.
Yeah.
Prop 8 was so divisive, and so many of us were out protesting around Temple Square. A lot of families were being ripped apart over this issue. In 2012, something significant happened. It was a turning point. During our Pride Parade, 300 active Mormons in Mormons Building Bridges marched at the front of the parade with me and the Mormon screenwriter Dustin Lance Black, and we marched down the streets, and the crowd cheered them and was crying, and the Mormons, all in their Sunday best, were crying, and we had this moment when we realized that love was more powerful, and love was a way for us to transcend this acrimonious political battle that we were in. And so to see 300 Mormons in 2012 and then 18,000 Mormons in 2017, that's a trajectory that I really like.
It's really interesting, and I have to say this because both of you know that this is true, and that is this. The Mormon community, the faithful Mormon community, active Latter-day Saints, and the gay community, LGBTQ community, can come together, and as we have seen through the Loveloud Festival and other events, can come together and take hands and embrace one another.
Yeah.
But the fact and the reality is that both sides are in very solid positions. The church is not going to change its doctrine, and the LGBTQ community is not going to change its stance.
Right.
Where is this relationship headed?
And this is what I love. It's down to us where it's headed. We are the ones that choose and decide where it's going to go. The majority, making the majority of people being, look, listen, my end, you know, there's, and you always hear it, there's judging and then there's the love. And I remember, I look back and I think that I spent way too much time doing the judging, okay, which is God's work. God judges us, right? Judges everyone, and not doing my work. My work was to love, right? That's not my job. Whatever that is, you know,
above your pay grade.
Yeah, way above that grade. My spiritual pay grade, whatever kind of pay grade you want to call it, it's way above. And then when I let go of that, then it was awesome. It was awesome. And I mean, also coming from the fact that, you know, I born and raised in London, and, you know, I spent, you know, going to church, I mean, you know, different churches, you know, before I became a Mormon with gays, and going to work, and I was in the music industry. I was in a boy band, and I performed at gay bars and gay clubs before I was, you know, before I went on my mission, all that stuff. So it wasn't really
Unfamiliar.
it wasn't really unfamiliar. But, you know, seeing it from people who are here, and, you know, there's just one thing that they've been exposed to, and it's just the Mormon culture. That's easy. Where I came from, that's easy.
Yeah.
But when someone's grown up in just the Mormon culture, and then they are showing that love and acceptance, that's powerful. Those are the people that just makes me want to be better. You know, because you know that they have found something, and they are using it to bless the community and bless other people, whoever they are, that might be different to them.
So, Troy, where is this relationship headed?
Well, what the LGBTQ community has really sought is nothing more or nothing less than equal protection under civil law. And that's where we've had our battles. And so, you know, I would love to see the LDS Church to become a more welcoming, a more inclusive place for gay and transgender Utahns and Americans and all around the world. And we're not there yet, you know, but my biggest concern is the experience of a 12-year-old Mormon boy or girl who fears that their impulse to love another human being will exile them from their faith community and maybe their family for eternity. That weight, that burden, is a lot for a young person to carry. Let me tell you from personal experience, that is a painful, painful burden. And I would love the LDS leaders to actually consider that. And I will keep engaging them in a civil, loving conversation about how we can create a more inclusive kind congregations for LGBTQ kids.
But still there remains
Yeah.
that issue, that doctrinal issue of the church that ultimately separates at the very core. How do you reconcile yourselves and your positions and the groups that you are part of? How do you reconcile that and still have peace?
Well, I don't have an answer to that. I'm not there, so I don't have. But one thing I've noticed is that, you imagine, you know, when you're sitting at the family table, and you got your in-laws, and you got the cousins and aunts and nieces, and it's a reunion, and you're all sitting there talking about stuff, and there's nothing that you can agree on. You got Junior over the side there, you know what I mean, who's like the straight-laced one, and then you've got Henry over here, who's the black sheep, pardon the pun, right? And they are just at odds with each other, with something that they believe. It could be politics, it could be this and that and that and this. And you see it happen in families all over America. And then afterwards, and especially with your buddies and your friends, you know, you just have this, like, you know, get on down, big old argument. And then after that, it's like, you call them up the next day, you're like, hey, you want to get some dinner? You know?
And we need more of that in this country.
Because there are people, right? Yeah. Because it's like, you know, I've seen it. I've seen people who, like, are cut from two different cloths. You know what I mean? And they would fiercely, vehemently disagree with each other. But the thing that keeps them together is this thing that makes them want to call them up again and say, hey, let's go get a drink. Let's go get a beer or whatever. I don't drink. You do. You know what I mean? But let's go. And, you know, I'll drink my flipping, you know, Kool-Aid, and you'll drink your, you know, your champagne, whatever it is. And we sit there. We have the biggest laugh, and we have the most fun. So there is something somewhere within us that this is possible. But as I said, that's as far as I don't know. I'm not, you know.
I have my own beliefs, and I believe that the Mormon Heavenly Father is sending gay and transgender babies into Mormon households for a very divine purpose. And that is just to teach Mormon families how to expand their capacity to love more than they knew they could.
People that are not the same as them.
That is profound. A lot of folks would go, what?
Yeah, of course.
At that.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe it.
So we've had the Love Loud Festival, and I hear they're planning another one for next year.
Yeah.
Which is exciting to hear.
Love louder.
Love, even louder, yes.
Loudest.
That's right.
Love, you can see where that's going to go. So we've got the Love Loud Festival that has come and gone, and they're planning for another one next year. Yeah. In the meantime, what's next?
You know, I'm going to continue to have conversations with leaders of the Mormon Church. I'm going to continue to sort of open my heart and reach out my hand and enter into dialogue. It's going to be difficult. These conversations are hard, but we've got to have that. In our country, we're so divided right now, and we just turn away from each other. You don't think the way I do? I'm going over here. And I'm going to go on Facebook and I'm going to rant about you. You know, I want to actually open up the dialogue, open up my heart, and take the risk, take that leap of faith that something constructive can come out of sitting down together and finding the things that bind us together, the things that we share in common, and focusing on that. That's our way forward.
And I think that's the cue, because I used to remember, you know when labels were cool? And we'd put labels on each other and we'd say, hey, you know, you're one of us. Yay, you're one of us now. Right. You know what I mean? And this is great. And you'd hug each other and you do all the things that you do because you're one of us. And then all of a sudden, it just felt like along the way, the labels turned from being cool to cruel. All of a sudden now it's like, oh no, you can't be one of us. You're different. You can't be here. You go back over there. Then all of a sudden it started being divisive instead of uniting. And so, you know, my goal, and this is what I said, you know, I had my little, you know, speech or whatever it was. And I said, you know, it's time we got rid of all the labels, because labels are for clothes, not for people. It's time we got rid of the labels but kept one. And that's human race. Let's just keep that one. Because it becomes inclusive again, and that includes every single one of us, gay, black, white, pink, green, or whatever it is, you know, your affiliation, you know what I mean, you know, white supremacist, whatever, we're all human race. And I think that once we see, like what you said, because all of a sudden human race makes us realize that, oh, okay, that's what we have in common, and that's a lot bigger than anything that can separate us, just like what you said. And so I think it really is always coming down to looking at the bigger picture of what we really are. We all bleed the same. You know, I wrote a song about that. We turn each other inside out. We're the same color.
Yeah.
We bleed the same color.
Yeah. As we wrap up here, each of you, prior to the Love Loud Festival, had your own stances, whatever they were, your own beliefs. How did that event and taking part in that event change you personally?
Well, for me, was well. Let me give you an example here. This is a girl. I asked her. I was online, and there was this incredible post that this girl she put out about her experience. She's a lesbian. I asked her if I could read it, and she said, "Yeah, but don't say my name because I haven't come out to my family yet." Okay. And this is what she said. She says, "As soon as I walked into the venue, I immediately felt a rush of calmness, a sense of love and acceptance," she said, "that I haven't felt in a long time." And then she says, "Everyone was so kind and welcoming, and the energy was indescribable. It was truly incredible. I've never in my life felt more valued and supported by a group of more than 20,000 people last night. And that was really a powerful thing. But then she said that this has truly changed my views on the church. And then she said, "Allies and members of the LGBT community and my life, I will cherish last night and be thankful that there are people out there fighting for the safety of the LGBTQ in the Mormon community. My heart is full. Yeah. I will continue to love loud, with no exception." That was something that totally changed my view of the. I realized that the struggle, like when they say the struggle is real, the struggle that the LGBT community have gone by themselves, just trying to exist, instead of, because they don't want to just survive, they want to thrive, just like we do, like everyone. We want, and what's happening is they're just barely by the just scrape of the neck. They're just surviving and trying to tell, just by simply wondering whether they should tell anyone they're gay or not. Yeah. You know, that's like me wondering if I should tell anyone I'm black. You know,
newsflash.
Of course you can see it.
We know already.
I mean? You can see it, but that's probably harder for them.
Yeah.
What did you learn, Troy?
Love Loud reignited my hope and my recognition that the things that bind us together, the things that connect us, are stronger than that which divides us. And Mormons and the LGBTQ community have more in common than you might think. I mean, from the outside, people look at our communities with suspicion. We have historically been the targets of violence and persecution. We've had to fight to gain citizenship, statehood in this nation. And then more positively, and we've got to be real here, Mormons and gays love parades. And we love pageants, all right?
Yes.
And we love music festivals,
Yeah.
all right?
Yep.
We love to dance and to sing and to celebrate the bonds that connect us. So I'm so optimistic about the future.
Well, Alex Boyé, singer, entertainer, YouTube sensation, and Troy Williams, the Executive Director of Equality Utah. Thank you both
Thank
for
you.
being
Thank
part
you.
of
It's always a
Three
pleasure.
Questions.
It's always an honor. Thank you,
Appreciate
brother.
it.
Thanks.